What's up guys, today we're building the profile card component from Frontend Mentor. This is what the final product looks like, and I've downloaded this starter pack from the Frontend Mentor website so that we can jump right into doing this kind of tutorial. So let's take a look at what we have. So we have this download starter pack, that's what I've done. This is what the final thing looks like. We've got the index.html, and let me quickly run live server. So I'm going to press go live, and as you can see we have the basic text and what this looks like prior to styling. Okay, so here's that final version and here's it prior to styling. Let's jump in with what we need to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to link a CSS style sheet. I'm using Emmet abbreviation, so I just write link :CSS and press enter, and we're going to have this link style sheet style.css. I'm going to remove the attribution that they've provided us with here. So let me just remove that. All right, as you can see, that disappeared. So yes. And let's create a new file. So let me go here, file, style.css, and this is where we're going to style everything. So the first thing that I'm going to do to make sure that this is all correctly set up is I'm just going to write background color and then select red to make sure this is all correctly set up. And as you can see, the screen changes to red. So that means that we had the correct setup, like everything is good with our style sheet. So this asterisk here is the universal selector. So it selects absolutely everything on this screen here, on this viewport. Okay, so one of the first things that I'm going to do now that I have this universal selector here is I'm going to zoom into the screen so that you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm going to write margin 0. And I'm going to write border 0. Now, if you didn't catch, oh, whoopsie daisy. If you didn't catch that, let me unselect this. So, okay, unselected, you can see that there's this kind of border margin here. And what this is the browser applies a default styling. When I use the universal selector and I write margin 0 and border 0, I'm going to uncomment that, and as you can see straight away it adjusts itself. The reason why I do that is just like to kind of have a uniformity and get rid of those browser default styling so that that doesn't, you know, later on be annoying for us and cause some issues or something like that. Alright, so now that I've established this style sheet, I've got my style.css, I've removed the default browser stuff, I'm going to head to the HTML and I'm going to add my elements. So I have the body tag here. Within this body tag, I'm going to look at this kind of final solution and see how I'm going to add the elements. So I have this card. So okay, I'm going to select all of this stuff. I'm going to go view, command palette, Emmet wrap with abbreviation, div, dot, and dot is going to immediately allow us to write a class, and I'm going to write a class of card. Okay, so this is all going to be in this card here. Okay, after that card, I can see that there's this image, and it's the header image of the card. So this like blue header image with these circles. So I want to add that. So I'm going to write img for image, the HTML element image dot card header image. Okay, and I'm going to enter card header image. That's the class. src will be the file path. So I'm going to do /images, and then we're going to use bg pattern card, so background pattern card, and the alternate text for that will be background header image for card. Alt stands for like the alternate text, and that will be for people who are using screen readers and they want to know what the different elements are, so that will read out background header image for card. All right, so that's important to add for accessibility. So we have card header image. As you can see, the class name is pretty verbose. It's a long class name that can sometimes be annoying, but it can also be useful because it's very easy then to know that that is the card header image. And we also have another image here, which I'm going to name card avatar image. Okay, and this is why it's important to have sometimes longer classes that are more verbose. It can be more clear what the specific thing is. And I'm going to add this avatar image, this image of Victor. And I'm going to say Victor crest avatar image, for the alt text, okay? And let's take a look. We should see both of those show up. Let me just go back here to 100% so that I am kind of at normal zoom, so we can see the design a little bit better. Okay, so you see we've got this background, we've got the image. All right, now we have to fill in some more of this HTML elements. This is one of the most boring parts, but please stick with me. I'm going to try and go through it quickly and explain why I'm doing specific things. All right, so here we're going to add a heading, H1, and I'm going to say main title. And this H1, why am I doing H1 instead of doing div? Because I could say div, and I could call this div main title, and I could style it too. Well, if we do div, you can see that that's presenting itself fine, right? Let's change this to H1 and save. Okay, as you can see, automatically it's applied this style. What is that? Why does it do that? Well, again, this is the browser that will automatically style various elements in specific ways. This H1 is automatically styled. It's better to use a heading 1 in this case than using a div, because it's what we call semantic HTML. So as much as possible, you want the HTML to explain itself. This H1 element, somebody looks at it and they immediately know that this is heading 1. They immediately know that this main title is a heading. If I said it's a div, then it's unclear, you know, by the element whether it's, what is it? Like, it's unclear. It's unclear that it's a title. I have to look at this class, right, to see that it's main title, but still that could be something different, you know. So H1 kind of adds some context, and also it's useful not only from that context perspective, but also from the perspective of how the browser reacts, which is that it's better for SEO to have semantic HTML, because, you know, like the browser crawlers or the way that the browser is designed, basically it prefers that than having a div soup, which is what's referred to div soup or div spaghetti, where everything's just a div. All right, so it's better to say this is an image instead of saying it's a div. Well, I think we have to say it's an image because you have the file path here anyway. But like, it's better to say that this is image, you know, or to say this is a heading instead of a div, so that's semantic HTML. Here in this case, when I have 26, I'm pretty sure there's not a number element specifically that I want to use. So I'm just going to say div avatar age for that class. So we've got main title 26 div avatar age. When I'm looking here on this, I see that this is on the same line. So I'm going to add another div here that's going to wrap, and it's going to be to have this on the same line. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to call this flex one line, and that may give some of you guys a bit of an impression of what we're going to do later with the styling. Hint flex. All right, London. So I'm going to wrap London in a H2, which is heading 2. It's a smaller heading. It's kind of like a subheading, and I'm going to say subtitle. That's what I'm going to call that London. You could also say geography title. I don't know, you know, where like geographic location, whatever location title. You can name your classes whatever you want to name them. This is what I'm naming my own classes. Okay, here for 80k, I'm going to say div, and I'm going to call it stat. And I'm going to go ahead and say 803k. I'm also going to call it div and .stat. And when I name this the same class, it's because every single one of them has the same styling. If we look at this original image, all of these have the same styling. So that's why I'm going to go ahead and call them the same thing. So div.stat. Enter. Okay, cool. And then for followers, I'm going to call that command palette, and I'm going to say P. P is for paragraph, because this is kind of like a small, I think it's more semantic HTML to say paragraph instead of div. So I'm going to say view command palette, P dot, and I'm going to say stat description. Which, it's annoying to type out description as the whole class name. That's a very verbose class name, and the only thing that I'm sometimes concerned about is whether I've misspelled description. Perhaps that's just me, but sometimes I find spelling hard. So, you know, that's something to watch out for, is if I'm spelling description correctly. But the verbose class name makes it really clear for me what that specific thing is. And again, it's clearer when you later go back to the code that this is stat description instead of it being called dog. If it was class dog, and it doesn't relate to photos, what does dog relate to photos? I don't know, you know, then it's like difficult. It's like kind of technical debt. You know, it's kind of more complicated later. Like, what the hell is it? Sorry, I'm just a bit thirsty. All right. Save. Okay. Something that I know clearly that we have to do is I'm going to be adding a display flex later, because all of these are on one line. You know, we have 80k followers, 803k likes, 1.4k, and this is all on one line. And right now it's a column, and I don't like that. You know, I want it to be on one line. So I'm going to just select all of this stuff. Ooh, girl, what did I just do? Okay, I'm going to select all of this stuff. And I'm going to go to View, Command Palette, emit wrap with abbreviation, div, and I'm going to say div flex row, because that's what it's going to be. I'm going to be applying a flex row there. And then not only am I applying a flex row, but as you can see, we have 80k followers, 803k likes. You know, you have this mini column, like these 3 mini columns here. And that's what we have to do in our, you know, in our HTML element. Is prior to styling, we have to apply this div, and we have to say flex col. And we're going to do that here again. View, Command Palette, emit wrap with abbreviation, dev.flex col. Col stands for column. I could be very, I wrote DIC, div. Make sure you write the correct thing, because spelling is important. View, Command Palette, emit wrap, div, flex col. Again, I'm applying the same class name because all of these are going to be styled the same, and therefore I don't, like, if I name them different classes, then I have to apply the styling multiple times, and it's just like, there's no point in doing that. That's not what we're aiming for. So yeah, okay, cool. I think mostly I have the HTML elements that I need. Actually, I am forgetting an HR element for this line. This line here is an HR element. That's what's going to give us a line. So after London, we want to say HR.line. Okay, there we go, cool. Does that automatically give me a line? No, we have to style it. Okay, so let's get into styling this. All right, body. All right, style.css. What do we need to do? Let's make sure this is big enough for you guys to see really clearly. Body, background color. Let's change the background color of this, because right now it's white, but we're going to change the background color to what we have right here in our style guide. So Frontend Mentor provides us with a style guide, and it provides us with the colors that are used. So this blue, this turquoise, is used as the background color. So let's apply that. As you can see, that's exactly what we want. So background color for the body. Now I'm going to apply a height of 100 VH, which is 100 viewport height. VH stands for viewport height. So what we're seeing here. Why am I doing that? Well, let me tell you right now why I'm doing that. But we need some context. I'm going to apply a display grid, and I'm going to say place content center. So as you can see, everything is flown into the center. Why did I do that? Well, that makes our life so much simpler, because the card wants to be on the center of the screen. If I make the screen bigger, it's still in the center. You know, this is the best way to position it. It's always going to be in the center. The card's always going to be in the center. That's exactly what we want. It's the best way to style it. It's the cleanest way. That's why we do height of 100% viewport height, because I think if I remove that, then it's only going into the center top. We need it to know that it's 100% of the viewport height. Display grid is the best way to do it. It's just so clean, so good, and it's exactly the way that I want it. Okay, so let's take a look now at the card. So for body, notice how I am writing this. There's nothing preceding this. It's just body. To select a class, I'm writing .card. That's selecting the class. So body selects this HTML element, and to select this card class, I write .card. Simple. All right, background color. We want to set a background color for this, and I'm going to set it to white. All right, so we have the white card. Now, what's wrong with this card? Well, you know, we have this background header, we have this avatar image, but this avatar image is next to this background header. You know, that's incorrect. Like, we want this image to be here. So what I'm going to do is here, I'm going to apply a display of flex, and I'm going to say, oh my God, you're going to say, whoa, I just ruined it, like, broken. No, it's not broken, because we're going to say flex direction, column. Now, okay, so that looks a lot better. We have to change the avatar image. We have to adjust that. Don't worry, I'm going to do that next. But that looks a lot better because it's a column. When we do display flex, if we don't have column, then it defaults to row. That's exactly what you're seeing with this behavior here. So that's why we're doing flex direction column. Okay, card, all right, I think blah, 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 okay, you know, I think that's correct. Avatar image, let's go to this card avatar image and change the card avatar image. Or actually, first, no, actually, I'm gonna move on to that in a second. Card avatar image, and we're gonna say, I'm gonna give it a fixed width of 90 pixels, and as you can see, it is 90 pixels, what we want. All right, so one of the issues is that the avatar image is a square. I don't want it to be square, I want it to be a circle because that's what we have on our design. So how do we make it into a circle? Border radius, 50%. It's a circle now, wow, amazing. Like, look how good I am at CSS. Like, sorry. Okay, humble, okay. Border radius, 50%. Perfect, it's not a square anymore. Like, that's exactly what we want. Okay, how do we get that to be in the middle? Well, one of the things that we can do is we can say align self center. Beautiful. It beautiful. Like, it presents itself, like, just look at how beautiful. It's in the center now. Why did it do that? Why did align self center work? Well, it's because we have a display of flex on the card element, and the card element is a parent. Okay, when I say parent, when I say HTML parent element, it's because this card, everything else is inside of it. You know, everything else is inside of this div class card, and this div ends here. You know, everything else is inside. That means it's the parent. So whatever parent styles it has, it's applying it to everything. You know, so the display flex on the parent is working with this card avatar images, which why we can say align self center. Why that's working. Okay, let's take a look at this design. You can see that the card has rounded edges. So that's something that we want to do. So we want to say card, and I'm going to go ahead and say border radius 1 rem. That gives us a nice rounded edge, exactly what we want. And then something that you may notice is, like, since we have this card header image at the top, you know, this still has a square, like this still has square, you know, square borders. We don't want that. We want rounded borders for the card header image. So let's select that dot card header image, and we want to say border top left radius, ugh, that's so long, 1 rem. Perfect. So as you can see, the top left radius has changed. We will do copy pasta, top right, how do I spell? Okay, top right radius 1 rem. Now it's now you can see the borders are curved and beautiful and great. Okay, cool. So let's move the card avatar image by placing a position of relative here. A position relative, and saying position absolute. Position absolute. Okay, so that flies at the top of the screen. Why did I use position absolute here when I could say position relative? Let's take a look at what will happen with position relative. Well, I will tell you, I think, what will happen with position relative. Nothing, it won't move. But when I add position relative, I can use things like top and say top top 80 pixels, and I can change the positioning of that image. As you can see, oh, my bad. As you can see, when I did top 80 pixels, that moved downwards. So that's with it without, and that's with it there. It moved downwards, top 80 pixels. That's because we have position relative. By default, every single HTML element is position fixed unless we define it like we're doing here, position relative. But something that you may notice is this is still occupying space. Even though this has moved, it's still occupying space. Like, as you can see, there's this big white space here. I wanted to point out the screen as if like you guys can see that, but like there's this big white space here, which we don't want. Which is why, instead of using position relative, we're using position absolute. That's why we're using position absolute, because what you will notice is by using position absolute, it's not occupying space. This image isn't occupying space inside of the card anymore. And that's what we want, because we don't want it to mess up the other styling, okay? We don't want it to mess up the other styling. Something that I've just thought about is I want a padding for these text elements here. You know, like, see how this is like literally out of the card? You know, so we have to apply padding. We have to apply padding here. So what do I want to do? Well, I want to give it another div. And what I want to do is I want to have another div for all of the text. So starting from Victor Crest down to this div, I'm pretty sure, down to this div, I'm going to go command palette, emit rep with abbreviation, div dot padding class, save. And then here I'm going to add a dot padding class, and I'm going to say padding of 1 rem. Now what does that do? Well, what I did is I messed it up because I placed it in the wrong place. I think it's like that. Div dot padding class. Okay, now it's in the correct place. My bad. All right, padding class. As you can see, everything has now a padding. It's not right at the edge. You know, there's a bit of a padding here. That's exactly what we want. We want a padding of 1 rem. I'm also going to apply a margin top. And I'm going to make this quite a big margin top. I'm going to say 2.5 rem. This is going to add some space back to the space that we took away from that image. But still, I still want to use position absolute because that position relative gave me no control. You know what I'm saying? So now with this card avatar image, I'm going to say bottom 90 pixels, which could be potentially incorrect, but we will see. Bottom 90 pixels. Okay, wait, I think it's top 20, yeah, top 80. Okay, so as you can see, doing top 80 pixels, that's placed it exactly like in the place that we want it to be. And maybe I'm just seeing this, like, I think this might be a bit too much, something like that. Yeah, okay, I'm thinking that's pretty good. Okay, so top 80 pixels, position absolute, that's placing that avatar image exactly where we want it. So now I'm gonna do a border of 6 pixels, solid white. And as you can see, that will add that kind of border around it and make it look really nice and exactly like we want it to look. So, okay, flex 1 line is what we're gonna move on to now next, because I'm thinking that this is looking pretty good. On padding class, I'm going to give everything a text, a line of center, because if we look at this, we can see everything is kind of aligned in the center. So we're going to do a text align center. I'm thinking that's pretty cool. Okay, Victor Crest and this avatar age class. We don't want them to be like this in a column, we want them to be a row, which is why we have flex.oneLine as a class in our HTML elements, as a div. So flex.oneLine, display, flex, and this should immediately be a row. Yes, perfect. That's exactly how we wanted it because the default flex direction is row. Align items. Okay, we have two items here in this parent. This parent has two items. It has main title and it has average age. Not average age, avatar age. I'm tired. Align item center. As you can see, they're centered now. Instead of prior, this was floating away, you know, to some different planet. So that's making our life just great. Gap 0.5 rem, so that this has a gap. Save, see immediately that has a gap, and that's looking pretty good. Something that is throwing me off is that we have the wrong font family. This has the default font family of the browser. I have no idea what the default is, like looks like Times New Roman or something. I have no idea. Like maybe it's like, I don't know. What are it's like, it's definitely not Comic Sans. But like anyway, this is some other, let me like, her girl. Okay, this is like some other text. It's not like Times New Roman. So let's look at the style guide. It's going to tell us exactly what we have going on here. So we have this font family Cum Sans. All right, let me navigate to Cum Sans. Let me press Get Font. Let me press Get Embed Code. Embed code in the head of your HTML. Okay, cool. Embed code in the head of my HTML. So index.html head. Embed the code. So Control V. Save. Okay, cool. We saved that. And then either in this universal selector or in the body, I'm going to choose the body. I'm going to define a font family of Cum Sans. Cum Sans. Great. We can see that immediately changes to Cum Sans, and that immediately is great. It's exactly what we want. Okay, as you can see, this has now changed. This text align isn't working. It's not aligning for the center, but that's okay because we can say place self center and it will place itself in the center. Why is that working? Well, again, it's about the relation to the parent element of card, which has a display flex. So with the display flex, we can do things like place self because we have the display of flex. Okay, so we have the wrong font size for Victor Crest because it looks gargantuan and this is looking like a smaller font. So Victor Crest, main title, that's what the class name is. Dot class main title. Dot class main title, font size, 1 rem. Is it 1 rem? Okay, actually I'm not sure what size it is. That's looking at like 1 rem. 1 rem is 16 pixels. Why do I use rem instead of 16 pixels? I use rem because rem adjusts to the browser. So if somebody decides that they want to have bigger fonts, like potentially they have like dyslexia or some reading issues or something, they may decide in their browser that they want the font size to be larger, and if we use pixels then it's kind of hard coding it, as far as I know. I'm pretty sure I'm correct. If we use pixels it's fixed and it's hard coding it, so the font size won't change, whereas when we use rem it changes and adapts to browser settings. So that's why I use rem all the time, but you can use, I guess, pixels. I'm not sure if that's like exactly correct, but I think it is. 1 rem is 16 pixels. So we're going to use 1 rem. 26 looks like it's smaller, or like, I mean, maybe it's like that. Okay, cool. Okay, what I'm going to do is, you can see here on this original design that the main title and the stats, they're similar. Like, they're very similar in their styling. So we can do main title of similar in their styling in the sense of like similar to the font, like the font color. So we're going to go to style guide and we're going to grab this font color, this navy 950. And I'm going to, as you can see here, I've selected multiple classes. One of them is main title, comma, and dot stat I've also selected. And here I'm just going to say color, colon, and then semicolon, and that should change the color. Yeah, exactly. That changes the color. And all of these have, I'm pretty sure, the same font weight. So we can just immediately here say font weight, and we can apply a font weight of like 600. Okay, cool. All of those have a same font weight. Maybe it's 700. Yeah, I'm feeling 700 a bit more. Okay, so now let's change London likes followers photos and 26. So 26, let's change that. So avatar, age, and let's change the color to whatever is provided here in the style guide. I'm assuming that this gray is what they want us to use. Ooh, I did some shortcut to open terminal. Okay, gray, perfect. London is huge. What did I call London as a class? Can I remember it? Or do I have to look at it? Dot, I called it subtitle, didn't I? Please. Okay, subtitle, font size 1 rem. Let's see if that's adequate. Yes, I do think that changed, but I think that's not exactly 0.85 rem. That's what I'm going to do. Yes, that's what I'm going to do. For the main title or the flex one line, I'm going to do, or padding top. Yeah, I'm going to add a bit more padding top there. Victor crest, actually I'm going to add a way more padding top. I'm going to do 2 rem. 2 rem. 2.5. Okay, 2.5, so that's adding some space here. Victor crest, 26. London. Sorry, I just burped. Could you hear that? 0.8. London. Font size. Oh, God. Sorry. Ew. This is second take, by the way. The first take, it just like deleted itself. And I was like, oh wow, okay, so this is what we're doing today. All right, color, gray. Font weight, it's lighter than the other stuff. It's like 400. Yes, okay, cool, beautiful, okay. And then there's a bit of spacing there, so we're gonna say margin top, and I'm gonna say 0.5 rem. So that's a bit of spacing. Okay, cute. 0.5 rem. Am I also gonna do a margin bottom of 0.5 rem. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to create a row. As you can see, this is a column here. I don't want it to be a column, I want it to be a row because that's the design. So we want to do row. What do we call this class? We call it flex row. Dot flex row display flex. And then flex, actually, it will automatically do it. Yeah, okay, automatically it's done it because the default flex direction is row. Place self center, place self center, and then gap 1 rem. No, that's not enough. 3, no, 2.5. Yeah, all right, 2.5. Padding bottom of 2 rem. 1.5. No. 1. Flex col. No, let me do stat description. Let me do the class of stat description, and we're going to change the font size of this. So we're going to say font size, and it's like a baby font size. It's like 0.8 again or something like that, maybe even smaller. 0.75. Yeah, 0.7. And then it's going to be a color of, again, like that light kind of gray. So copy pasta, light gray. Yeah, and then for that flex row, I'm going to say margin top to add a bit of spacing, 0.5 rem. Whew, Ooh, I'm a bit tired. So that's why I'm kind of silent. I should be a bit more exciting. Okay, cool. This is looking good though so far. This is looking good. I'm liking it. It's looking good. We are missing this line. So let's go ahead and do the line. What is it? I called it dot line. So dot line width like 4 pixels. And a background color of black. Okay, why are you not working? Okay guys, how do we do this line? Well, the way that we're doing this line is we're going to say width 100%, so that it fits the width of the card, and we're going to apply a height of 1 pixel so that we can actually see it, and then we do a border of none. A height of 100%, a width a border of none, a height of 1 pixel, and a width of 100%. Okay, and then a padding of 0. And a margin of 0. Why is that not working? All right, just give me a moment. Okay, so something that I have to do that is kind of annoying is basically if I uncomment this and I say width 100%, something that you guys may notice that you see before is because of the padding class, this class that is dot padding class, that's applying a padding of 1 rem, this line has this padding because it's within padding class as the HTML element. This is super annoying, and I don't want to remove it out of there and change my HTML. I just can't be bothered. So this is why I do width, calculate 100% plus 2 rem, and margin left minus 1 rem, and that's what fixes it. That's annoying, and it's kind of a buggy fix. So if you want to fix it yourself, then you need to change the HTML. But I am just letting you guys know that that's kind of the workaround fix that I'm doing here. Margin bottom and top of 1 rem. And yes, that's looking quite good. 1.5 I'm going to do. And I'm going to do margin top of 1.5. And yeah, I'm liking the way that that's looking. I am going to reduce the opacity here because that line is not exactly black. It's kind of like weak. Like maybe even, like, yeah, that's quite a low opacity, like 1.05 basically. And I could potentially do it a little bit thicker, like that, or maybe 8. So yeah, that line. I think the padding is a little bit too much. Like I think here we should just do 1 rem, and here we should just do, actually maybe I'll keep it 1.5, but here for the flex row, I'm going to like reduce this padding bottom to 0.5 rem. And I think that looks a little bit more accurate as to what the card is looking like. And I think that's really close. I think that looks really good. That's looking really close to me. So here, that's what that looks like. And here, this is what this looks like. I'm zoomed in as well. So that's 100. This is zoomed in too. So yeah, that looks really accurate. Like that's looking pretty close. And then the final thing is this circular background. So let's add the circular background. Okay guys, so we've created this card. As you can see, it looks really good. Last but not least, what we have to do is we have to add these circles to this design. So as you can see, when it's full size, there's these circles that we can see on the background of this design. And I've kept this last because I think this is like the most annoying part. So let's add these circles. So we're going to add the 2 images. I'm going to say background circle top, and I'm just going to say /images, and we're going to go background pattern top, and the alternate text will be background circle for top, and then we can just copy paste and say background circle bottom, and we're going to do background circle images bottom. I'm pretty sure that was the correct images, background circle for bottom. Okay, so as you can see, this looks like wrong. It's like, oh my gosh, what's happened? These shouldn't be occupying any space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say background circle top, and I'm going to say dot background circle bottom, and I'm going to say position absolute, and this will make them not occupy any space. Okay, perfect. So they're on top of each other and they're not occupying any space. So now I'm going to separately select them, and I'm going to say background circle top. I want background circle top to be located left, and I'm going to say left minus 300 pixels. That's going to make it like kind of go inwards, and then I'm going to say top minus like 40 pixels or something like that, and it's going to make it go up. Then I'm going to do the same thing for my bottom background circle, but instead of doing that, I'm going to say right, and I'm going to say bottom, and I'm going to say bottom minus 300 and see where that goes. Okay, so that goes on the other side. So let me adjust this a little bit. Let me say 60. Let me get this up a little bit. So 80, 160, 200. Okay, so I want this to go up because I want it to match this. So as you can see, I want to match that so it can be a little bit of a fuff, a little bit of messing around with the values to see kind of where they are at. Let's say 200, something like that, or maybe even 160. Like, yeah, I want it kind of maybe encroaching a little bit on this card. This is just messing around with the values and making sure that they're correct for this. So like maybe 80, maybe even less, 60. And then have this be top 240 and have it go up. That looks pretty correct to me. We can mess about it even more, but like you don't have to be pixel perfect. Like this looks pretty correct. And then for this second circle, we're going to do bottom 80. Is that moving? Right. Okay, yeah, that's moving. So we want that to be not as much. So 200, and then bottom 180. Okay, so we need a lot more, 300, or actually, is this wrong? Should I do top? No, this isn't wrong. Bottom, 300, okay, we're gonna do like 700, 500, something like that. As you can see, it's so much messing around with these values, which is annoying, but it's like, you gotta mess about with them a little bit. Okay, like they're lapping. Yeah, they're on top of each other, like that, like even this. All right, that's close enough. Like I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. Victor Crest card. This is the design. I'm really happy with how it came out. I think that design looks perfect. Hopefully you guys found this video useful. I'm really hoping that you learned something new and that you liked it. If you did, I always appreciate a like, a comment, and a subscribe. That really helps me, and it helps me stay motivated. I hope this video helped you guys, this tutorial, and gave you some insights. So thank you so much for watching the video. Bye.